GMTV Show 207. And there they are. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, Dave.
Hello.
It's the top of Dave. Dave from the sky.
Woo-wee.
Wow.
I like the shot.
Yeah, it's I got a rack system that's set up for my drum. So there's a pole. There's a pole coming straight up.
Hey now.
We're starting out the show strong now.
Yeah.
Wow, look at you. All right, cool. Good to see you, Dave Robinson.
To be seen.
So, Bill Nolan, how are you?
I'm good. I had a fun night the other night at the Horseshoe. It was fun. I got a sub job, like Brad there calls me when somebody craps out.
Oh.
And I got the call like on Saturday, which was great. The thing's on Monday. I mean, I could have done it if it was Saturday. That would have been fine.
Right.
But what was fun about it was I got to sit in. Scott Smith asked me to sit in with he and Dave Rao and Brad. They did a little North County band. Hey.
Hey now.
Commercial.
Did I just get played off? Is that what
I don't know what I hit. I hit something,
But it was fun. I got to play with them. I got to do like 3 songs with them playing just lead, and I didn't know the songs, and like that's absolutely the most fun to me. Like nothing beats that for fun.
Country stuff, like country music.
Yeah, but it's playing solos on acoustic guitar. I just love I love that thing where you go there and you don't really a lot of times I always talk with my friend Mike Mugridge. We always talk about how. When you're playing with the band and you have stuff that's prepared and all that stuff, and then when somebody asks for something and some of the people are kind of like reluctant, but then if like a couple of people are just like, yeah, let's do that, and boom, and you do it, and it's always like, it's fun,
I like that the best. I
Me
sort
too.
of set up my whole musical career to be like, all right, we're playing what we're playing.
Yeah.
I once had a gig. I got a phone call from a guy who I didn't know. And he said, hi, I'm a band leader of this band, and we're playing at this place. And it was like some fancy joint, some country club or something. And he's like, I've got so-and-so on the gig. Like, I think maybe it wasn't Joe Mayo, but it was somebody I knew and trusted like Joe Mayo.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, you got him. And who else you got? And he mentioned some people. I didn't really know them. And I think it was in Nyack or somewhere across the bridge like that. And I get to the gig and they go, hey, are you Ed? I go, yeah. And they go, you're the band leader? I go, no, where's Bob or whatever? I don't remember the guy's name, right? And they're like, no, Bob isn't on the gig. It's us. And we thought you were the guy because we're not the guy. We don't know what we're doing. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what you're doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so they were all top-notch players. Like the bass player was the bass player in the Army band at West Point, and they're all really good, like all the military guys. And we just sat down with a pad of paper and went, Mustang Sally? And they're like, yeah.
And who did the singing?
I don't know. There was a singer. Like we figured it out, and we pulled off the gig in such a way that you might not know that we weren't a band, No,
and like when I first started the band Mojo, like back in 1999 or something like that.
Right.
One of my mantras was just never make your problem their problem. Like if it's somebody clams, full speed ahead. Somebody does have full speed ahead. You kind of know it full speed ahead. You don't kind of know it at full speed ahead. It's like
right.
It's just like the rest of this shit is just generally people aren't going to pick up on the stuff that you're grinding on. It's
yeah, you're right.
So
Bill Nolan,
a period of time though to do that. Like if you're
absolutely right. If you got good players, you're gonna get through it somehow.
Yeah.
Bill Nolan, I just figured out what's wrong with JMTV tonight, and it's a technical problem on my end, and I need 3 minutes to fix it. So do a 3-minute song, and I'll fix it.
Okay. Will it be going out, or am I just doing this to the ether?
Oh yeah, no, go for it.
Okay.
Make it happen.
I played this song on Monday night. I'd never played it before, but I kind of like it. Living on the road, my friend, is gonna keep you free and clean. Now you wear your skin like iron and your breath is hard as kerosene. Weren't your mama's only boy, but favorite one it seems. She began to cry when you said goodbye and sank into your dream. Pancho was a bandit, boys. His horse was fast as polished steel. He wore his gun outside his pants for all the honest world to feel. Pancho met his match, you know, on the deserts down in Mexico. Nobody heard his dying words, and that's the way it goes. All the federales say they would have had him any day. They only let him hang around out of kindness, I suppose. Well, Lefty, he can't sing the blues all night long like he used to. Dust the Pancho bit down south, it ended up in Lefty's mouth. The day that laid poor Pancho down, Lefty split for Ohio, where he got the bread to go. No one ever knew. All the federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him hang around out of kindness, I suppose. When the first step Pancho fell, Lefty's living in a cheap motel. The desert's quiet and Cleveland's cold, and so the story goes, we're told. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true. Save a few for Lefty too. Just did what he had to do, and now he's growing old. Few great federales say we could have had him any day, only let him go so wrong out of kindness, I suppose. A few great federales say we could have had him any day, only let him go so wrong out of kindness, I suppose. Is it in the time limit?
Very nice. I love that song. Oh, look what we're doing.
Great
That's
song.
a crazy look.
Hey,
All right. Will
Will Barrett is here.
I can't get high enough. I can't. Oh, well, that, in more ways
Hello.
than one. But I can't get tall enough. Ed said, there's something wrong with you. You don't sound right. When I came on, so I changed computers and ran around and did all this stuff that I spent 2 hours perfecting and fine tuning. And so here I am. I don't know what I sound like. Can you hear me at all? I mean, can you see me?
Yeah, no, you sound great. It's perfect.
Feel me.
Whatever you did, it just took you in a different room. But I had a setting weird. I have a new internet system, and I'm on the old system, which is lousy. So that's what.
Well, just so that Bill knows, I went to all this effort to get the camera just right so that you could see the neck of the guitar.
Oh, no.
Bill has and now it's fucked it up again. So I'm
Pneumatic.
sorry.
You can't just tilt the screen down?
No, because I've got a camera, so I can tilt the camera, and then down it's here, and then I go to
I can do
It's all good. I'll join you in solidarity. Right? We'll do this.
I can give it a try. You never know.
look what Dave's doing. Dave's like, oh my God, from the Starlink
give it a
cam.
There's all different points of view about how the best visual works on this.
Oh my God.
Out of respect for Bill Nolman, I will.
All right. So
try
what
to-
I was going to say while Will Barrett is setting up his setup, I love that song that you just did. I used to do it with a guy named Dave Hirsch. I don't know if you ever met Dave. Did you? Oh, you might have met Dave Hirsch
I
from
don't
New
know.
Jersey. He
I don't
used
know
to
if I
come
did.
he would come to Bobby Q sometimes. He would come to all my different jams starting at Cobb's Mill Inn for years. And I played in a band with him called Fatback and the Urban Plowboys. And they were all top musicians from New Jersey. And we do band shells in Passaic and whatnot. I don't know.
Right.
They're fantastic. And so I was a thing in Passaic for a minute, and I played accordion with that band. And that song he and I did with me playing accordion. So someday we've got to go to the Horseshoe and do that.
Well, I mean, I do. I've said this a lot to you that I've got a whole bunch of vaguely Tex-Mex kind of things or things that could kind of go in that direction. And I got plenty of reference stuff I could share with you that you could see just to get a flavor of, I doubt you have many doubts about what you would do, but I love that. Right. It's a great song, and I know the song, but I've never played it until Monday.
You might
night.
get if you play too much of it, you might get the runs, but otherwise.
Is it Dire Straits? Is it Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits?
No, it's Townes Van Zandt.
Oh yeah, right.
It's Townes Van Zandt, and who Townes Van Zandt, who was a huge, he's a huge influence on Steve Earle. It's kind of like the Texas thing,
right.
Singer-songwriter stuff. I think Willie Nelson did a pretty well-known version of it as well.
Right. But you see, do you know why I think it's Mark Knopfler?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know much about him, but I know everything I've heard he's done. I'm impressed with.
Yeah,
I will say that Mark Knopfler, it's one of these weird things. The thing I'm least impressed with is Sultans of Swing. Not that I don't think it's a great song.
You're absolutely right.
If that was all he ever did, I would have been like, okay,
Or I Want My MTV. I never loved it.
Oh, that I wouldn't even,
everybody loves it. It's their hit. But, have you seen the stuff he does with Les Paul?
Stuff he does with Les Paul, the stuff he does. I mean, he did that album with Emmylou Harris, which was amazing. Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the Dire Straits stuff is so good. I mean, so good. And he's got a very unique style. He plays with his hands. He picks. He doesn't play with a finger pick. Or a flat pick. And
it's very distinctive. Yeah.
Oh, he's completely.
He's also,
that to me that's the you can pick him out of a crowd. He plays on. He played on a Steely Dan album. I think he played on maybe Gaucho. He was on that, and not the song, but the album. He played on this very dense Brian Ferry album. It was either called Bête Noire or Boys and Girls. He had two albums that I really liked a lot. Not beyond Roxy Music. And you can just pick them out you just pick them out. It's such a dense recording.
Yeah.
You can hear all these people, and then you hear him, and it's all it's kind of like the riffs from Sultan of Swing. It's kind of.
He also arranged some movies too. He arranged music back, whatever you call it, soundtracks.
He did film stuff too. He did what was that? He did a song? I mean, he did an album, rather a soundtrack for. It was a movie that took place in either Ireland or Scotland, and it was his first big gig. Like Ry Cooder did Paris, Texas, and some of these guys who were their normal shit is so atmospheric. It just plays for cinema. It just makes a lot of sense. That
I don't know what it is about his playing. I mean, he is a virtuoso, I guess. He's an amazing player, but there's something about his particular style that just reaches out and touches someone. It's
true. And I read an article recently about him, and he considers himself a songwriter. He doesn't, he marginalizes his guitar playing, which is, and I don't think he's just trying to be coy, but he really looks at himself as a songwriter, and I don't dispute that. It's like there's a lot of great guitarists out there, but there's not a lot of people that write great songs like he does. And that some of the lines in some of his songs, like Romeo and Juliet, how he works in the reference to the Leonard Bernstein song somewhere, like the movie song, Oh, it was just that the time was wrong. It's like he gets a quote from West Side Story in the middle of this
Right,
thing.
right,
Just friggin' beautiful.
right. And that's the thing. I so often with music, I hear the A&R guy going, "We need more. We need an AM hit, or we need a,
Yeah.
they're being driven by other people." And I always felt, but Mark Knopfler drives himself in the right direction.
Yeah. With the exception of I Want My MTV, which I don't think anybody begged him to do that. I think he just saw an opportunity and he did it.
Maybe, yeah. Apparently,
Could be.
I only recently learned that was Sting that was singing
Oh,
"I
yeah,
Want My
yeah.
MTV."
Well, the video, if
wow.
you saw the video, it was, and I mean, I think,
Yeah, right.
I think
Wasn't it
even
animated?
Sting was having fun with the whole, MTV era because he was photogenic, and
Right.
he could play the part,
Right.
and yeah,
They
those were
claim
funny
it's a true
times.
story that he was at a appliance place and that some guy was watching Dire Straits on the screen or whatever, and he's like, "That's ridiculous. Those guys don't work for a living. They just play on MTV." And anybody that's in the business knows those guys work for a living. The ones that tour and the ones that record all the time, they work hard. Those guys.
Even those among us who don't tour, have no careers, and are basically lame, we work
Right.
hard too.
You work hard at it.
I work hard at nothing.
Right. I mean, you could work in a coal mine. They pay you more money, but you have to work in a coal mine.
Then nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing the only mistake you can make is not ask for enough money on your gig. That's the only mistake.
Right.
The idea that you think like, well, if I do this, then what if, and it's like, well, what if they do? What if they don't hire you? Then fuck them.
I would agree. I was at I was hanging out with a group of musicians, local musicians, and they were talking about how one of the local towns made everybody fill out a form when you apply, and instead of giving them your promotional material, they want you to fill out a 7-page form, right?
Right.
Right.
And at the end of it, it gives please note what range your price range is, and the price ranges started at, like, for a solo act, they started at $500, and they went up to $5,000.
That's a mistake on their part.
And everyone laughed because two of the guys said, "We got booked and we got that dollar amount. We got $2,000 for that gig." Everyone was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right. And if you ask for money, you'd be like, "I don't know, how about $100 a guy? Is that okay?"
Exactly. It's like, could we,
I would be happy to fill out those forms.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Let me bring him in. Bring him
Shows
in.
you where government bureaucracy costs the town a lot of money because musicians will
it's
work
like,
cheap.
just talk to other towns, for Christ's sake. Find out what they're paying.
Right.
So.
Well, like if they
go ahead.
if they overpay the musicians, that's a historic first right there.
I've never heard of
that's
such a
true.
thing.
Yeah.
That just doesn't.
those
I mean, it
towns
is
pay
really
a lot.
funny. You're making $100. That's pretty close to what you might have been making in 1970.
Yeah, right. I made $100 a gig in college.
Yeah,
We
sure.
played one of the best bands in Boulder, and I went to college in. It doesn't seem like a long ago. It was 1982. No, 83. I was in college, 83 to 86, and you could pay your rent making $100 and do a couple gigs a week. You had a living.
So you're 83 to 86.
I graduated high school in 82.
Are you 60?
I'm 60.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense because
Somebody told me to stop coloring my hair the other day.
Yeah.
You should stop coloring your hair, motherfucker. Like it was mean. It was like, and I was like, I don't color my hair.
Yeah, I color my hair the same color as my pate.
Right.
I went in to get at Supercuts. They have this stuff called like camo male stuff or something, right?
What, camo hair color?
It'll take your gray and sort of make it less gray without being obviously not gray, And I thought, well, okay, I'll go for that, sure, And so the woman is mixing the stuff up and so on, and I'm smelling some odor, and she gets ready to squirt it on my head, and I suddenly say, "Does this have formaldehyde in it?" And she stops, and she goes, "I don't really know what's in it."
Great.
I got sensitivity to all sorts of chemicals. You got to stop. I can't do this.
You're gonna die on the table at the hair salon.
Exactly. He stopped breathing, and I never finished the job.
Yeah. The only time you want formaldehyde is when you're not in a position to argue about it. That's
Right. Exactly. That's a
at the
product.
end of the day.
I'm a
You need a
canary.
captive audience.
a canary in a coal mine. If there's a very small fragment of formaldehyde in the air, I'll notice it and start coughing.
There you go.
So
That's
it's,
interesting.
I
yeah.
remember.
Like that.
I remember I once did a publicity stunt. I went on Facebook and I said, I'm thinking, this is quite a while ago. I was like, started to get like, when you're 30, you get like one gray hair. When you're 31, you get 4. Then you're 32, you get 9. And then you're plucking them and you're like, I don't know if I pluck them, then, and then finally it's like so many that you're like, yeah, I'm never going to. And so at that point, I went on Facebook and I said, everybody tell me what to do. Like some people tell me that I should color my hair, and some people say I should never color my hair because that's the worst thing you can do. And I was really just joking around. I wasn't planning on coloring my hair, but it was about 50-50, and hundreds of people responded, and they were like, don't ever do it. People who color their hair are wakers. Like just age with dignity. And the other half are like, definitely you're looking old and extinguished, and like don't do it, right?
As opposed to distinguished.
Yeah, I've said that for years. My gray hair makes me look extinguished.
Fight the age. I never thought of it.
And so I was sitting one day with Elwood from the with Pat from the Blues Patrol and the Elwood character. And I was sitting in a diner with him. We're always like, he is a diner abuser, that guy, right? He goes to diners and he says, like, he gets the waiter over because he's like got the Blues Brothers movie running in his bloodstream, And so he says to the waiter, like every time, he's like, how's your toast? And then he's like, I'll have white toast with no butter. They bring him the toast, and he's like, "Can I get a side of butter? Like, can you still get me that?" He hassles him about the toast and the butter.
Don't touch it. Don't melt it.
Fried chicken and whatever. But I was sitting at the diner with him, and he looked at me and he said, "Special ed," because in that band they call me Special Ed. So he's a Special Ed. I'm meaning to talk to you for a long time. You're getting a little gray. And I was like 45, right? And he's like, you're getting a little gray. You really ought to think you're in the show business, and you need to really think about your image. And he gave me a big lecture. And at that point, I looked across the diner table at him, and I'm like, oh my God, you color your hair, right? Mm-hmm. And he looked great. He always looked great. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. So, and then I go down to the aisle where they sell that stuff, and you get all the pretty girls on the boxes looking at you, and you're like, feel like they're all flirting with you. And I'm down there, I'm like, I'm not doing it. And so I've never done it. But
what I don't get is I don't get the grow the beard if the beard looks completely different than your hair on your head. So
right.
Like if your beard, you're salt and pepper, your hair is kind of salt and pepper. It's kind of, it's kind of looks like it comes from the same.
You got a white beard and a black head of hair.
I got a buddy who just had a birthday. Richard Sabian, Sabu. Hello. I know you're not watching this, but anyway, he just had a birthday. Great head of hair. Like he was a guy that, we used to go out a lot, and I was kind of his wingman. And I kind of brought the personality, but he brought the look, like it was kind of, it worked very well this way. But his beard, I mean, it looks like he colors his beard gray. It looks so, it's such a defined difference. Right. And I say to him, dude, and his wife's with me on this. I say to him, dude, I dummied up, hair color for men packages with his head on them, and I fucked around with it, and I sent them. It's just like, if he took that beard off, but he went from being a big time advertising director. He was working on Pepsi when Pepsi was something, when it was Super Bowl commercials, and it was a big deal. Right. He had BBD&O, which was a huge creative shop, and he did all this, he did all this stuff, and now he's turned the corner. He did voiceovers, and now he's actually got some on camera shit. And I'm watching TV the other day, and he comes on. And he plays like the grandfather, but not like the feeble grandfather, like the hip grandfather.
The wise.
Speaking of the hip grandfather.
Hey, there we go.
Hip, yes. Grandpa, no. But
what is hip?
Like the beard matches, the drapes match the whatever.
That's not what that means.
Carpet, yeah.
But it's like, that's the way, and like Ed, you, Randy, if it looks like if I grew a beard, my beard would grow in a manner that the hair on my head does not, and it's like, but it would be like completely fucking gray. That isn't going to help the whole thing anymore.
Right.
It doesn't help it. Makes it weird.
And then, except there is a guy. Hi, Randy. How you doing?
Good, guys. How's everybody?
There is a guy at Captain's Cove. I don't know. He's probably dead now, but he was like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Captain's Cove, and he looked like. Maybe you know the guy, right? He looks like a little Santa Claus, and he's got a big white beard, and he's got sort of long white hair, totally white. He's a little roly-poly, whatever, and he wears a captain's hat, like a boat captain's hat, and he's dancing with all the girls, and he must have been, 70 something, but he looked like a garden gnome is what he looked like. And I swear to you, and he got all the girls because he's non-threatening. He's not doesn't have any of that toxic masculinity stuff.
This guy's not trying to pick me up. Yeah.
And so
that's the point. They're looking at him like he's grandpa, and there's no threat here.
Right, exactly. Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, want to dance? And they're like, get away, but
yeah. Oh, if I'm at a wedding, it's like as soon as the band starts, I'm out of there because I know if it's either that or I'm going to wind up dancing with so many people that I'll be one of those guys with the little girl who's got her feet on top of my feet, and we're dancing. I don't want to go there. So the band starts, I'm out. Hey, it's been wonderful. Good luck, kids.
I don't know. I don't know how many of you have walked in these shoes, but my daughter got married a year ago, June,
Oh, yeah.
And like the first dance is, there was a time when the first dance was a waltz. Yeah. Now it's like fucking Earth, Wind, and Fire, it's a whole, it's like you're not out there doing the box step that you learned in sixth grade. You're out there doing you got to get down,
You're full of Bailey,
And we didn't work anything out, and I have a great relationship with my daughter in that she busts my balls like crazy, and I love that, but it's like we went out there raw, man. And you know what? I just represented by doing what you do, which is just who gives a shit, and you just do it. Mm-hmm. And I look at the videos of it, and it's like, okay, I'm not overly, okay. I'm no more embarrassed about looking at that than I am just in general looking at me in a tuxedo, which is completely embarrassing. But but it was like, all right, I did okay. It's like, and she was laughing at one point because I got a couple of Travolta things, this kind of shit.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I got some of that shit going, and it's like I made her laugh. And it's like, the funny thing is, you go to a wedding, whether you're sitting in with the band or whatever you're doing, or giving your speech or whatever you're doing, you will never have a more appreciative audience for whatever the fuck you do. Your mediocrity is going to play the greatest thing that ever happened.
That's right. You're the star of the movie. Yeah.
When my son got married, they decided all of the other parents decided that they would dance in, right? And I arrived late, so I knew
that they do.
This was what?
That what do they call that? They do these things. Was it organized? They actually?
Yeah, it was ladies and gentlemen, welcome the mother and father of the bride, blah, blah, blah. And they would dance their way in and do some little thing. And welcome the, mother and father of the groom. And then welcome the loser father who has no wife and is just here single alone and has gray hair, So I had nothing planned. I get there late and they start dancing their way in. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell I do. So I run in as if I'm one of those basketball players who's running in and wants to fire up the crowd. So everyone's cheering when each group wants, and then I start running around and waving my hands, and everyone's like, ah! The place goes wild. So I wind up going from being the loser to being the people. The rest of the night were like, you were cool the way you came in like that. It's like,
no, but it's like don't give a shit. Just do it. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
Who's going to make fun of the father of the bride? I mean, please, really.
Yeah, that's low. That would be low. Yeah.
All right, Bill Loman, do a song for us because I might die. I'll explain it after.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh God.
Well, that's I may have to change the song if that's what we're doing. I want to make sure.
Hey, Bill, make it quick. All right.
Minor key.
Quick.
No, well, if I make it longer, then maybe guaranteed he'll die. Then I don't even know if I ever played this before. I might have, but you know, if I did, I probably pooched it, and I'm going to pooch it again probably. Sing a song for the wrong and the wicked and the strong and sick-ass thick-ups thieves, for the faceless fear that was never so near, too tuned to misbelieve. Well, the sea is getting salty, the porpoise has the blues, recollection's faulty, and I cannot find my shoes. And my warrant is misfiring due to cigarettes and booze. I'm behind in my dues. I just now got the news. He seems to tell us lies, and still we will believe him, and together he will lead us into darkness, my friend. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. The man says, stand to one side, girl. You got to keep the big ball rolling. It's just a question of controlling for who the bell is tolling. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Will there be suffering and starvation in the street, young man? Just where have you been, old man? Just look out of your window, man. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. And it ain't nobody's fault but our own. But at least we might could show the good sense to know that we was gone. But it's already taken too long. When you take it to the top, then you take it from the top. You let it settle on down slowly, like the gently falling snow, or let it tumble down and topple like the temples long ago. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Hollering timber, timber, hope it don't fall on me. Hollering timber, timber, let it all fall down. Oh, let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall together. Let it fall down, let it fall down, let it all fall down. Let it fall down, let it fall down, fall down. Save the pooch for the end. That's
All
more
right.
economical.
Beautiful.
I so
yeah.
envy. I so envy your major sevenths. I just so envy those.
That was a James
liked
Taylor
it.
song.
Good. Excellent tune. Who is that? Who does that?
James Taylor.
James Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that, in the 70s.
Right.
I was once at McKell's, which was a great bar in Upper West Side, New York, like up, in the 90s, up on, and great music place. It was kind of, Dave, it was kind of our version of the baked potato in New York. It was kind of like, you had those kind of artists that would go there. And I'm sitting at the bar, and next to me is David Spinoza, who's kind of a famous session guitarist in New York, and played with McCartney, like he played on like Ram, I think, and
Wow.
he's kind of a good guy. But he produced that album for James called Walking Man, and I struck up a conversation with him because I just said, like, that was the most guitar-y album that James ever did. And it's, James's albums all have guitar on them because he's a great guitar player. But this was one that had, like, it was like just a step beyond. There was like more stuff. And when I was first into it, I couldn't play the shit. Like Eddie Wright would have to show me everything. Like now I can figure it out on my own. So I may be better than I was in the 70s, but I don't know. But it's a great album to walk, man.
That's very cool. Yeah, you had to save me on that one. When we started the show, it was a little chilly in here because it's like that time of year where you don't know what's happening. And up where I am in the mountains, it's going down to 24 tonight. I think it's getting cold. And so the leaves have been down for a month or whatever, or more. And I just as the show started, I opened the door, which is right there, and it got really cold in here, and I was like, oh, like I don't know if I'm going to make it another minute. It was so cold. So I turned the fireplace on.
I was looking at the video of you feeding that raccoon.
Yeah.
Like so, obviously he's a healthy raccoon, and you're feeding him at night. But he'll actually take food from your hand and won't bite you or do anything like that. I mean,
So this is an example of I'm a dumb idiot, right? So no, I did not get bitten by the raccoon, and my goal for the year is to pick up and pet a possum. Maybe it's going to happen next year. Well, apparently they're sweet as pie. People that like possums are like they have them as pets and they sleep in their bed and they look.
If I may, just real quick, two phrases come to mind. Famous last words and what could possibly go wrong.
Right, exactly. No, apparently
what could possibly go wrong.
What could possibly go wrong? So apparently they're ugly and they gnash their teeth and they look mean as hell, but apparently they're not. And if you just walk up and do not do this at home, kids. We are
caution, warning.
Yeah, but apparently if you attack them, they get scared and they play possum. They fall, they faint.
Well, they do, but like their second line of defense might be just biting you after that.
No, apparently they don't. You pick them up. I've seen people, they pick them up and they're like, I saw this video of a girl. She walks in to her mom. She's like a high school kid, and she's like, "Hey, mom, can we keep him?" And it's a possum, and he's like, "Ah!" And the mother's like, "No, we can't keep him." But she just picked him up. Apparently you can do it. So anyway, I've been feeding my buddy. They're friendly. They sit next to me. A lot of the animals do. Like it's over now. The skunk will come and sit right by my shoe
at your house.
It's a Disney cartoon. And so like the skunks now, if I'll go sit on my front steps and I'll feed them little piles, whatever, and they're mean, the skunks, and they'll sit by my foot and they'll eat and they'll look at me like, "How you doing? What are you up to?" Like it's all cool now. And so the raccoon is literally gently, like with his paw, he'll take it out of my hand, a walnut, or I could feed him and he gently bites it and whatever. We're a little respectful and scared of each other. But what happened was he and his buddy, right? So my one raccoon likes me and the other one growls at me, doesn't like me, right? But he'll still eat food out of my hand, but he's growling while he does it. And I'm really careful. If they make any kind of twitch, I'm like, whoa, I'm out, Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, well, there's a chance I'm going to get bitten here, and I got to watch it, and it's probably stupid. Here's what happened. They decided I was their best friend, and they've been breaking into my house and hanging out with me. Like they rip through my screens on my screen porch. They come through the cat door, and they come and sit on the sofa. And I'm like, no, get the fuck out of here. And they are they think he's our buddy. He won't ever hurt us. He loves us.
I don't want to cast any shade on your relationship with the raccoons and the other varmints up there. The fact that you feed them may have a lot to do with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's possible.
And so now I've taken it to the extreme, and now they're invading my life. They're breaking in when I'm not here or whatever. And I'm like, like I look at the raisins by my TV. I have a little bowl of raisins, and they're like gone. I'm like, oh shit! They've been watching TV. They've been in here, So now
the TV has changed to Animal Planet. Yeah,
I've got to catch them, and I've got. It's what's going to happen after the show tonight. I'm going to try to catch them and relocate them someplace else.
Does anybody here know Melissa Pickens?
Oh yeah, I know Melissa Pickens.
Yeah,
She's
so
great.
Melissa, I don't know if you know. I mean, she went down south to tend to her mom, and I don't know, like Alabama or Mississippi
Mississippi. Yep,
Mississippi, right? And she has a crew of tortoises.
Yeah,
that come to her kind of like a domesticated kind of animal, and I just saw a video of one. She has this one, and she has a name for it because she'll put like a little dot on their shell so she can recognize them. And the thing comes to her back door, and like gank, 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 and she comes out and she gives it like a plate of hamburger meat,
Right.
and which led me to believe, like, if I were to come there and like I'm scratch on the door, do I get like a hamburger or something? That would be nice.
Right, exactly.
But it's kind of cool. It's like it's a fucking tortoise,
Yeah, there's another side to all of this. Like now I'm living the pain of my Dr. Doolittleism.
No, but raccoons are clever, and raccoons have prehensile
persistent.
They do. They figured out how to rip
their hands.
They figured out how to rip my screen porch in, and I've like had to plywood over and
board it. Yeah.
Oh my god!
My
I'm living in the
God.
middle of the big raccoon wars of 2024.
They're gonna find you at some point.
You're gonna find me, like the panda bandits are gonna like come and get me. So
you're gonna do the lineup, and it's gonna be 4 humans and a raccoon, and it's gonna, like, step forward and give me your name. It's Rascal. Okay.
Well, one time I was at the Black Duck. There's a famous picture. I was at the Black Duck, and Henry Carpio, the blind drummer. Everybody know Henry?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Henry, great guy. And he was playing drums at the jam, whatever. And I would give him a ride home after the jam, right? And so he's coming. He was about to go down the steps at the Duck, which could be a little treacherous. I mean, those little, especially at the end of the night. Yeah, there you go. And he was at the top of the steps, and I had my leftover, my dinner that I didn't eat, and I put it on the dashboard of the passenger seat, and I open the door, and I go up to the top of the steps, and I help him down the steps. And as he's getting in the car, there's a raccoon sitting on the passenger seat eating my dinner. And I mean, 15 seconds later, right? And Henry's like, I'm just getting in. I'm like, no, don't get in. He's like, what? What's the problem, right? So there's a famous picture of the raccoon in the back seat and Henry and I, like, oblivious in the front seat, driving down the road.
Just driving.
Yeah.
Is the raccoon belted in? That's what I want to know.
There it is. Yeah, no, I had to Photoshop it together because the raccoon wouldn't cooperate on the photo shoot.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately.
But that's my life, unfortunately, the raccoon world.
My best friend growing up, who lived at the end of my street in Riverside, he was funny. He was like an entrepreneur before that was like a thing, and he had a reptile and amphibian kind of business.
Right.
It would come through like Railway Express. Like there was, that's what was happening in those days. It would come in a train and show up at Old Greenwich. There was a depot right there, and he would get the stuff. And he had strange things. He had all manners of snakes and all
anacondas
kind of thing. And he had a coatamundi once, which is really kind of interesting. South American raccoon, and
right.
But he had a badger whose name was Boris, and Boris would come up to the house I grew up in. Maybe I was living there at that time, but came up there and would scratch on the back door. And again, my mother would she'd come out and she'd give him something and say, Boris, go home. And then like the thing would go, and it's like, a badger, and he was
right.
Kind of cool. He had rattlesnakes too, which we literally taped their tails because he had this whole little terrarium thing that he put down in the basement, like right off like the washing machines and stuff.
Right.
And then we taped them just to keep it quiet. He had like the snake sticks and all that shit.
Wow.
Boas.
Pretty wild. All right, Bill, play us one more song if you would.
This is a song about snakes. No, I'm just kidding.
It's from Whitesnake.
From White.
Unfaithful servant, I hear you're leaving in the morning. What did you do to the lady that she's gonna have to send you away? Unfaithful servant, you don't have to say you're sorry if you did it just for the spite. Or did you do it just for the glory? Like a stranger, you turned your back. You left your keys and gone to pack. Bear in mind who's to blame. She really cared. The love she's spared and the home you shared. Such a great change. Unfaithful servant, I can hear the whistle blowing. Yes, that train is a-coming, and soon you'll be going. Let us not bow our heads, for we won't be complaining. Life has been good to us all, even when the sky is raining. Take it like a grain of salt. It's all you can do. It's no one's fault. Makes no difference if we fade away. It's just as it was. It's much too cold for me to stay. Goodbye to that country home. So long to the lady I have known. Farewell to my other side. I'd best just take it in stride. Unfaithful servant, you'll learn to take your place. I can see it in your smile. Yes, I see it in your face. Memories will linger on. The good old days, well, they're all gone. Oh, lonesome servant, can't you see? There's still the one and the same, just you and me.
Nice, Bill.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yep.
Very
We
cool.
dig it.
That is a great, but
Well
like
chosen.
a chord progression.
Yeah, it's all over the map.
E7 to E minor to E flat major 7th. You know, it's like that's
Yeah.
cool. That's
I was
like,
playing
It's
along
pretty
and I was
cool.
going like, "Oh, this sounds great." I sounds what the hell?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, where did that go? Oh, now it's back to where it was. Then, oh God, now again.
There's a lot of songs that are like that you think you've heard them so much that you think they're straight ahead songs,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
realize they're full of modulations and full of weird chord changes and weird little
Yeah.
turnarounds. And
I mean,
so,
that,
that's
you know,
one of
that
those.
really like a G6
Right.
to an E7, E major 7, and then an E flat major. It's like, God damn. You know, and it's
Yeah.
like, and it's Americana, you know, like but it's like well beyond wagon wheel, you know, like it's
Right.
it's
I don't
something
know
No,
how
that,
we-
you know.
played individually, it sounds like what a weirdest, but the way it flows as a song is brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is funny,
Well,
you know. It's funny too. Like one of the disciplines you do when you play stuff solo, you know, you break it down. You know, you're breaking it down into something, and it's like it would be so much cooler if I had Randy Stone playing bass to play like the G against the G,
Yeah.
the F sharp against the D, the E against the A. Like
Mhm.
it's just
it
so
sounds like
cool.
you're rapping. It sounds like you're J-Lo or something, or like.
But when you
Kesha.
when you play it, you just get this appreciation that somebody sat down and wrote this fucking
Yeah.
thing like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's
and
like-
one of
and
you
how do
guys
they do
on
that?
a previous show, one of you guys talked about Wichita Lineman and James Taylor
Yeah,
calling up what's his name, the guy who
Jimmy
wrote it.
Webb.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Saying you
It's
said
like, what's the
that
key?
there's not an F in this whole thing. Believe it or not, I'm the only instrument that's playing an F in that whole fucking song.
Right.
Play
Right.
an F in
Like
it.
The F is in the beginning, I guess. It's like
No, that's the A flat to the A part.
and the bass is like
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, God, you know, it's
So
I know.
let me ask you your honest opinion.
beautiful.
I think I know what you're going to say, but your honest opinion. Do you really think that with that level of complexity, I mean, somebody wrote it, but do you really think that these top people like James Taylor, whatever, that they don't bring in arrangers and
oh no, they
know,
do not. No,
you
I mean,
think they just pull it? They're the ones doing it.
well, they have influencers, and you know, generally, like with Taylor, it was guys in his band, and particularly the guy Don Grolnick, who was a great keyboard player, who passed away.
Right.
James's band is a little bit like Spinal Tap. Like, you know, if you're in that band, you got a good chance of like ending up on the wrong side of the law.
Oh God.
But Don
Russ
Grolnick,
Sklar is
you know,
in trouble.
you can just tell from the stuff that he was composing at the time. You know, he learned a bunch of different kinds of chords. You know, he was doing stuff that was different. But you know, I say no because James can play this shit solo. He can just fucking play
Right.
it. And
Oh, I don't mean if he plays it, but I mean when they're writing, do they
no, I don't think so.
get a pro? You know, you get a a producer who really knows.
There are
and they
those
come in
of
and they-
them among us who would think James Taylor is a fucking pro.
Right.
You fucking
Well, okay,
raccoon
right.
feeding fucking hack in fucking
Right.
Pennsylvania. You know,
Exactly. No, I sometimes wonder. That you know they have producers and they do something. You know, do they come
Well,
in and go, why don't you do this and this and then that? Try that. You know.
I think it depends on the guy, but I mean, and honestly, they all benefit from, you know, certain producers, but I don't think, you know, the relationship with producers is not like Phil Spector. You know, it's not like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
Elton John
I'm
had
running
producers. The producers did not tell Elton John how to do it. Billy Joel, no. Paul Simon, no. James Taylor, no. You know, like these
Right.
guys
Yeah.
are full formed frigging musical adults, and
Right.
and
I
they
mean,
have a
guys
point
like
of view.
Quincy Jones, speaking of who passed away recently last
Right.
week, Quincy Jones was a guy that, you know, do I really think Michael Jackson wrote all those grooves and wrote all that? Like, yeah, Quincy Jones. So maybe
Like,
Quincy
I don't,
did
you
it.
know, that's an interesting, you know, because now you're getting into the kind of music that's far more produced, and
Yeah, right.
and some of the stuff that I find that's interesting, like Steve Lukather, the great LA guitarist, you know, was in Toto and plays, and he's another guy that we were talking before about guys who have a voice that you can pick out of a crowd. You know, like Steve Lukather is one of those guys. Somehow his riffs elevate him from the rest of those magnitudes of LA guys who are amazing players, but somehow you go like, oh, that sounds like Luke, you know. But he was talking about going in on, you know, Quincy would call him in on like some sort of a, like he was on Beat It, you know, and he was, and he would, and I think he might have played bass on that too, but
He says he did.
he goes in on these sessions, and Lukather himself, you know, says, no, you know what this really needs is just me to just do this little, you know, just like a little thing,
Right.
and that little thing ends up being like this major
core.
thread in the fabric. Like you just sit there and you just go like, ah, that's fucking, you know, like great session guys, just, you know, nothing but respect, you know. But it's like, it's not about going out there and ripping off a fucking lead, you know, like that's not a, you know, adding that little something. And Quincy, to his credit, knew it needed something. It wasn't quite there, and that's what it was, you know, like it was something else. And I don't know, I honestly, I know when you see documentaries about Michael Jackson, he has some strong opinions. I don't think there's a lot of people telling him what to do.
Right.
I think that you may get there through osmosis or something, and Quincy had a considerable amount of gravitas to him. You know, you work with
absolutely.
fucking.
And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, because all of these guys have access to those kind of people, you know, from the record companies and whatever. And so it wouldn't be crazy to think that they had somebody in the studio who could go, why don't you try this over this with that? You know, put your finger
Well,
here,
that's,
you
I
know?
mean, that's possible. I
we
think
were talking about-
George Martin did that with the Beatles. I mean, I think,
Right.
you know, I think
Well,
like
there's a perfect example. I hear, you know, the songs that the Beatles wrote, and then I hear the stuff that they did individually after. Now, Paul McCartney, you know, did some complex music after, but a lot of the other guys did straight ahead, you know, 3-chord song. Give
Yeah.
peace a chance. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, but you just did the Beatles, and how come you
Yeah.
don't sound like the Beatles anymore? You know?
But but I think the reason you don't sound like the Beatles anymore because you're not in the Beatles anymore. It's
Right.
like when you extract, there was a something between those four guys that
Right.
made them, dare I say it, the greatest band of all fucking time. And
I agree, but I
you give
think
me another
that their
band that's even
producer,
within sniffing distance of that, I'd like to know who the fuck they are because I don't.
right?
hear that.
But I think that the producer had a lot to do with that. Setting
Well,
it up.
I think he had a lot to do with it, but I think that what he was, what he was best at, it was McCartney's idea to have a string quartet on Yesterday.
Right.
It wasn't George Martin's idea. It was
Right.
his idea. He had like, experience with string quartets.
Right.
That EMI studio that they all, the Abbey Road, they worked on shit like The Goon Show. They're working with like Spike Jones and orchestral stuff, and that gives them the perfect fucking background to be able to interpret what four fucking guys from Liverpool who started doing Larry Williams covers, and then they end up being something. And when you talk about like productions, the other day I think I played, it was terribly. I played like Strawberry Fields, but I could do it better now. But it's like I heard the guitar demo of that. The guitar demo was the fucking song.
Right.
The rest of that stuff is just lip service and
Production.
it's polishing the turd or whatever, But
Right.
he showed up with that song with those weird ass changes on an acoustic guitar. Lads, I've written a song and this is it, and you're like,
right.
You're like, what the fuck? And George Harrison stuff is like that too, because George Harrison's chord progressions are bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think McCartney's a little more of a classicist, like his stuff is a little more, it's more like Burt Bacharach than it is like, out there,
Right.
Right. But I mean, those, it's all about the songs. Everything, it's just about the songs. The production, and today you are 100% right. Like today, it's being written by the fucking producers, it's
and the people don't have to sing. They tune literally everything. They tune the hell out of everything. So nobody could sing. Like I showed a student of mine, we were talking about auto-tune, in Bridgeport where I teach electronic music. And we were talking to a girl who was a singer, and she's okay. She's not a bad singer, but she ain't Whitney Houston. And I showed her a clip of young Whitney Houston, where David Letterman introduced her as like, there's this young woman here. Her name is Whitney Houston. Like, you didn't even know. And she comes out and does this vocal performance of one of her songs. I don't even remember which one it was. And it's so unbelievable. Like, she's hitting notes that nobody could possibly hit.
Well,
and
it's perfect pitch.
Yeah, but nobody does that anymore. Christina Aguilera could do that, and maybe Mariah Carey had some of that going on.
There's a great song that I sort of got reacquainted with recently, it's Linda Ronstadt doing The Sound of My Voice, I think is what the name of the song is. And I think it's a Jimmy Webb song.
Right.
And it's like, there's just a purity to what she's doing that's just, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, she did have it. She did. There was a purity to her voice that really was unparalleled.
Power,
she could,
power, purity, that kind of thing. She didn't, like, for me, she could do some rock stuff, but she didn't have an edge per se to her voice. But she just had like, what an instrument. And yet I'm driving around with my trusty iPod in my car, and on comes her doing Anyone Who Had a Heart, which is like one of my favorite Burt Bacharach songs of all Burt Bacharach songs, which is saying one of my favorite songs of all songs. And her version is not as good as Dionne Warwick's. Like Dionne, and it's not about the technicalities of it. It's just about something else. It's like that little je ne sais quoi thing,
Right.
I mean, she was a vessel. She was the, for Burt Bacharach, Dionne was just the vessel. The songs were there, and a lot of people did nice versions of Burt Bacharach songs, but Dionne was just,
Right, and the business is not like that. Like you said, it's not like that anymore. It's all made by the engineer on the laptop or on the, and they bring it into the studio and they go, you sing something and we'll tune it up later and you're a hit. You're a star.
And the stakes are different because really nobody is supporting a career. it is a very much instant gratification kind of world. It isn't like, you know, like I was reading this article about the Eagles, and like their first album was the first album, and it was like country western thing, and then I forget what their second album might have been, if that was the one that was Desperado or was the third one was Desperado, but it was like one of them was considered like a misstep, and because it didn't sell like something, That being said, it probably had like Tequila Sunrise and like some other amazing song on it,
Yeah,
it was
it
considered
just
like
didn't fit.
a misstep. But nobody ever for a moment considered like, let's drop these guys, because they're just not delivering us the giant. It was a different world. They were like, they would support careers,
Yeah.
And
And
if
they'd also invest.
you're old enough fart, you still, I still support, Todd Rundgren. When Todd Rundgren puts something out, I'm on it 100% because, that guy is like, I honestly, in the whole strata, now that Ray Charles is no longer with us, but in the whole strata of everybody, like, I actually think about if he were to pass away, would I go to Kauai for his service?
Right.
I don't think my wife's having that same thought, but
would you get in? Yeah, right.
Well, you might get
That's
in
right.
because he's that kind of a guy. But,
Wow. Yeah, no, but they got. I, on the one hand, I look at somebody like Taylor Swift and I say, I don't know, it's a lady in a dress singing a song and playing a guitar, and I admire that. It's not just electronic music. It's she's a girl with a guitar singing a song. I actually, you can't say anything about her success. She's a billionaire for this now, right? But I find her songs a little bit like two-dimensional. Like they're not Burt Bacharach,
I'm a huge, respecter of what she does,
Right.
and as I was with Madonna, where they basically formed their own way of interacting with the business, and they flipped the whole dynamic. And as women,
Correct.
they called the shots, and Taylor calls them even almost more than Madonna did. Like Taylor does. I really love what she does. I think it's great. I couldn't name one song, hum one song, or I really don't know the name of one song. Like
exactly. But I listen to the songs and I'm like, they're just not. To me, they're not Fleetwood Mac. They're not. They're not the Eagles. They're not. Like I listen to them, like they're definitely Taylor, but they're not amazing songs. Like I'm like, what did she do with that chord? Like what is that? I just.
But it's I mean,
That's
she
true.
took
Yeah.
she took kind of what Adele had,
right,
and put it on steroids because she's a player. She's out there actually playing the guitar, and she's actually really, she's not the result of a factory, because most of these people are like factory driven. But you're talking about Fleetwood Mac. I happen to be going through, like, I love movies where I know that during the course of the movie, these two stars started cheating on their spouses and fucking each other. Like
right.
Like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I love watching Brad Pitt. The Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, because I know
they're doing it. Oh, we
this
lost
is how
Bill.
you pick movies?
Where's Bill? Did he freeze?
He's frozen.
Oh no, Bill, you froze.
Let's see if we can wake him up.
Oh, Bill did. Oh no.
He's frozen.
Why are people freezing? Why, God? Why?
Can you hear me?
Look him up.
Oh wait, I think I hear you.
Willie,
There you go.
So
He's
anyway,
back.
him up.
I'm in this mode about Fleetwood Mac because I love, like, unapologetically, I love every stage of Fleetwood Mac, but unapologetically, the fucking Buckingham Nicks version of them is just, I'm sorry, you don't like that? Then go fuck yourself. I really don't.
That was when they were at their best. Yeah.
But when you see them after the breakup and they're playing like Go Your Own Way or The Chain, and like fucking Lindsay and Stevie are staring at each other on stage, like sending daggers, or that great song Silver Springs, which is a really, really great song. It was on a later album called, I think, The Dance, and there's an amazing live video of this, and it's like they're just staring at each other with all the history is there, and it's all, and yet they rehearsed. They did that together. They did.
Yeah,
they barely spoke, but like the
stuck in
music
it.
is unfucking believable.
The level of drama, but yet they're pros and they made it happen.
There aren't that many bands, where there were relationships, much less bands where there was a relationship, and when the relationship broke up, Stevie started sleeping with Mick Fleetwood. Like there aren't that many bands like that, almost none that you can really think of,
Right.
that when the relationship started going bad, normally that was that. But with these guys, they just
wrote a song about it. That's
Well,
it.
today, I mean, these
they
days
already
you
wrote
just
the song, and then it just took it to another level because they kept doing it for years and playing it live and staring at each other with and it's like, man, that is so much more compelling to me than the Captain and Tennille. I'm sorry, it's just so is,
Yeah, right, exactly. It's true.
I want to say all sorts of like evil, dirty things about them just to smear, like the conversation.
And the songs are great. I mean, the songs.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think she's faking with the NFL guy. I don't think she's really dating him. I think their press people put that together.
You're wrong.
Oh, really? You don't think they're?
You're completely wrong. Like, you want everything to actually be AI at the end of the day. It ain't.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know if she's dating that guy. I don't know.
Just for a second, just riddle me this, Batman.
Yeah.
She's on a international tour, yet somehow makes the trip to Arrowhead Stadium. She wouldn't have
Right.
if this thing was all bullshit. It's not. She's out there partying with his mom and his fucking sisters, and it's
Right. But she has a Global 800, 600-mile-an-hour corporate jet that she uses a lot. So
Yeah, she can get there in 3 hours to the opposite side of the universe.
and she can arrive rested and in her best outfit.
I've been to Kansas City. It's it's not like if you like ribs and beef, it's really great.
Right. There it is.
It was good for music too.
All right, Will Baird, you got a song for us?
Yeah, I do. It's related to Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. Since you guys were talking about them, I was like trying to pull it up.
All right.
Hey now.
I heard that.
Excelente.
All right, Will.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, well
That's
done.
great.
Brother Will, you don't have to worry about anybody doing a copyright infringement on you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had not given me those hints, I probably would have been like, God, I know that's a song. What the hell is that?
Yeah, it was the
Right.
goal. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
I love that when people do music in
Oh,
a
hell yeah.
style. I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got about 8 tunes. There's one that was playing in the in the chemotherapy unit, and they're all mellow. Obviously, every tune that I play there, and one of them is Teenage Wasteland.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
Alibaba, whatever you call it. And
Baba.
but I'm playing it so slowly that there's like nobody has ever noticed it. And
Right.
this one guy, all these people are sitting in this row, and this one guy leans out and looks at me and smiles like,
Right.
I know what you're doing. You know,
pretty funny.
it was
Yeah,
hilarious.
you know, Dua Lipa, right? She's a pop,
Oh, yeah.
singer, dancer personality, and she does okay for herself. She does very, very well for herself. And there's a group called Postmodern Jukebox. Do you guys
Oh
know
yeah, I
that?
love them.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
phenomenal. They're
Oh, yeah.
they're amazing jazz musicians, and they do the songs like they were written a lot of them like they're written in
Yeah.
the 20s, you know, with upright bass, jazz, and they get all these cool people to sing with them, whatever. And so they covered a Dua Lipa song, right? And I can't remember who they got, Haley Reinhardt or somebody to like sing it and dress up in an old 1920s flapper outfit.
Yeah.
And she's doing the whole dance and the whole
I
thing.
think it was levitating. I think it was.
Yeah, it was levitating, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody put it together as a meme on, Instagram or whatever they do, and they said, "Look at that." They showed the Postmodern Jukebox one, but they made it look like old film. They made it look really old.
Yeah.
And they say, "Look, Dua Lipa just ripped off this artist from the 20s." That's where you're going to go with your career, Will Barrett. They're going to be like, I can't believe those people ripped you up. Michael Jackson ripped you off.
He totally robbed
That
me,
would be a
man.
conspiracy theory if this were
I
politics.
was
That's right.
screwed.
Beauty is they do, they don't, it's not all, they don't do it all to like a 20s or a flapper. They'll take songs and turn them into like straight up like Stax R&B things.
Oh, yeah.
Or they
Right,
do whatever.
right.
And
It's
my
phenomenal.
problem, my only issue with them is that sometimes I don't know the source song well enough to
Right.
appreciate. When I know the source song, I'm like, it's amazing. Sometimes I just don't know it
Yeah,
well
you
enough
just,
to
it doesn't
realize
mean
how
as much.
great it is what they're doing. But they're, the girl Morgan James who used to play with them a bit.
Yeah.
She's like a fucking great
They
singer.
got some really great people. Do you know Gunhild Carling? She's Swedish, and she's
Yes,
she's-
is she the one who
with
plays
the horns and everything.
violin?
right. She
Yeah,
plays
she's
she
cool.
plays like 20 different instruments
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
professional
yeah.
level. She'll do like jazz solos in like bagpipe, and she'll balance the trumpet
Yes.
on her mouth.
Yes,
playing
yes.
it vertically while she's playing the accordion, whatnot. Like it's just crazy.
And the
She
the
did
MD of that thing is great. That guy, I think he's the piano player, right? I mean,
Right.
he's just great. The whole concept is cool, and they tour. I've never really considered going to see them, but I know it's
I
good.
had a gig. I think they were at the Fairfield Theater Company, and I had a gig. I wanted to go.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of I love that when they do that, and of course they're all music
Scott
school
Bradley, That's
geniuses.
what it is.
What is it?
Scott Bradley.
Yes. Scott Bradley,
Yeah.
Postmodern Jukebox, right?
Yeah, it's so good. Like what a concept, and they're all killer musicians. They seem
Oh.
like nice people too.
I mean, the vocalists
yeah,
are just
that's unusual.
insane.
The female vocalists are just
Yeah.
stunning. There's a song called "Fire," not the one we know.
Right.
I think it's
Or
by
the other one
Sia.
we
I
know,
think it's
or the
by
other one we know.
Sia, by Sia, but he got 3 chicks to do it as a girl group, kind of as the Ronettes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
yeah.
that.
Not only is it fucking awesome, and they look gorgeous, they're in tight
Right.
skirts and all this stuff,
Right.
but he somehow rigged it so that the sax player is blowing fire out of his sax, and he's like, "Rrr," and when he cranks up the note, it's like, whoa, this big thing comes out, and the bass player's next to him, and the bass player's like,
Right.
that's another one. I'll follow up with this on our thread afterwards and show you the link. It's very
Yeah.
That is funny. Yeah. I love those bands. And, you know, bands like Snarky Puppy, do you follow them too?
Yeah.
You know, like they have these studio concerts where they have a studio audience all around in a professional studio, and they multi-track what they're doing with, you know, 48 tracks or whatever. And then the studio audience listens in headphones.
Yeah.
You know, they all have really good headphones, and they listen, and they get amazing players in there, and they record these. They're almost too perfect. Like they're
they're
too
quite good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I went to, there's a little collective called Losers Lounge.
Yeah.
And they play the city a
Like
lot.
something I should know about. What?
Well, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. You know, they play the city a lot, and it's all thematics. You know, like one night it's Neil Young. You know, one night it's something else. So I went to a night where it was Burt Bacharach. You know, because I'll go anywhere to see Burt Bacharach.
Right.
And you know, thinking of like Leonette and Friends and Postmodern Jukebox and that kind of thing, you know, the bar is really high, and you know, I sound like a complete dick here, but I mean, they just weren't that level, and I found it annoying. I was like,
oh,
you know,
no, you're gonna go do Burt Bacharach for the night. Oh, you got to have your shit together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I
mean,
wouldn't take that gig. Yeah.
You know, there were some people there that were just sort of, they were longtime members of the Losers Lounge, and they were kind of skating, in my opinion. They just weren't bringing.
You guys all know Kim from the girls, the tall one, tall blonde. She and I, after a practice, stayed in my basement and geeked out making Alexa. Never mind, I'm looking at her right now. Play Burt Bacharach and Dionne Warwick till like 3 a.m.
Right.
Literally, we just kept calling one after the other, and then we would stop and we'd have her repeat certain passages. And how brilliant is that? And of course, and I'm like, and listen to the fucking bass line on that. That is not a straightforward bass line. Whoever that motherfucker is, probably Carol Kay, is whoever the fuck that is killing it. It's
you know, you know, honestly, with you know, with the Bacharach stuff, I don't know that stuff was recorded on the West Coast.
I don't know. I'm just saying that. It's probably
no, but you know, it's funny, of all the things where you kind of know who played on everything.
Yeah.
Like the Bacharach stuff is kind of a mystery, and I read like a biography
a lot
of him.
of it, you can clearly hear a lot of it is upright.
Yeah.
A lot of it is upright.
But I mean, there's a lot of guys that play upright.
I know. Well, I mean, it was one of those more traditional studio musician settings than like the electric, you know, checka, like
right
stuff.
And like nobody played that trumpet sound like Bacharach recordings, like the, you know.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like, it's a little bit like you know, Tijuana brass a little bit.
Yeah.
So, you know, Randy, if you ever put together a night of Bacharach, I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah, you got to come to a rehearsal. I think we stayed up till after 3 a.m. Like, holy shit.
You know,
we may have had a cocktail or 3, but
it could be. Could be.
So Will, play one more for us, would you?
All right. When you said the line was coming, somebody referred to a bass line that was coming up with Carol Kay. Did you mean Carol King, or did you mean
Carol
like a
Kay.
famous? Okay. All right. I got confused. I don't know what to play.
Frank, have you been sitting there for a long time?
There's a previous show.
10 minutes, something like that.
Session bass player, and I told my silly story about taking one Skype lesson with her, which was wonderful. When I was like,
I would pay money to watch the Skype lesson of you and her.
Just see that. Yeah. Just
by the way, whatever price you pay, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Watch it on split
she
screen.
Could not have been nicer. She was totally cool.
Right.
She already had your money.
Yeah.
Frank Meister.
How
All right,
doing?
you want me to do a tune here?
Yeah, do one more, and then we'll keep. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking, I wonder where Frank is. This software is set up funny, where the fifth person, it's the fifth person that comes in that's like off the screen, and you only see the very tip top of it. And I was like, oh, he sent me there.
Sorry. Story of my life. It's all good.
Yeah. Randy's done that before. He's like calling on the phone. He's like, I'm here. I'm like,
yeah, there was the night. I'm like, the fuck.
If you're number 5,
something I said, you can't smell these farts over line. Come on, what the hell?
There it is. All right, Will Bear, take it away.
All right, there we go. I heard that. Heard that too. Who put the glue on my strings?
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Name that tune.
Name that tune. Anybody name that tune?
I can name that tune, I think.
Oh, somebody's playing it.
Yeah.
I just saw that Mickey Dolenz is actually going out on tour.
No.
Oh yeah.
Well, Last Man Standing. More
Yeah,
than
and-
taking it
and
by
who's-
itself.
And he sung almost all of those hits except for
Oh,
Davy
yeah.
Jones doing, Daydream
Yeah.
Believer. But
Wow.
Mickey was,
That's right. Yeah.
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 Last time
And-
I saw a video of him, he still fucking brings it, man. He really does.
Wow.
Absolutely.
He's got an underrated voice. He's got a really good voice.
I mean,
Who-
my
and who wrote
favorite
it?
thing about that as well is with him, because I mean, I believe he could play like guitar, piano, and bass. So of course they cast him as the drummer.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Can anybody name who wrote that song?
What was it? Pleasant Valley Sunday?
Yeah.
Carole King.
Yeah. Very
Ah,
of course you would
there you
know.
There it is.
Encyclopedia of music. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill.
And Carol Kane probably
Compton
played
King.
bass on it.
We all know the other one, which is who wrote I'm a Believer, because that one's pretty obvious.
Neil Diamond?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes
Yeah,
sense.
solid face.
Yeah,
America.
Shut up. Yeah, right.
Oh,
And
God.
I caught
he
the tail end
said.
of the conversation where you guys were talking about people being able to do stuff in one take back in the day, and now, of course, that's a completely different thing. There was a short that I actually saw with one of the current singer who's well known for the whisper vocals. I won't bother saying her name. And they were talking about this thing where basically she said it's called comping, and they did a close-in cut of the vocal track, and it basically looked like a jigsaw puzzle. It was like 75 different
Oh, no shit.
versions. I mean, literally like half of a word.
Wait, who did this?
It's a certain vocalist that's known for whispering a lot, and I'll just
Oh,
leave
is
it at
it
that.
Billie Eilish?
I can neither confirm nor deny who it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Have you been?
but
have you been
you know,
litigated
and I think they called it comping, which last
Have
I
you been
checked,
threatened
that's
by lawyers, Frank? Is there something
Really?
you need
That's
to
what,
tell us?
Because I saw that too.
nowadays you never fucking know who's listening. You know, I mean, God.
Yeah. No, I get you.
It's true.
I
My
saw
gigs
that
are
too.
starting to slow down here. I got to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
careful. I don't want to piss anybody off.
I got
Right.
you.
well, you
And
know, they did that
yeah.
kind of shit for like bands like Three Dog Night who had like 3 really good singers in, but they would break up lines on them a lot and I, honestly, if you ever saw Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young live, you had a suspicion that they might have like freaking played with that stuff a bit because they didn't always do it great live.
Oh no. Oh, there were whole decades where the rhythm guitar player was doing Crosby's part just nice and quietly in the background, and they had his mic turned off because he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket because he was so effed up.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That was when he was living in a house out in the desert.
Oh yeah,
no
but,
money,
and
begging
again,
for
I'm not
guns.
trying to cast aspersions, but I mean the point is that there were people that would go off. I mean, you listen to the Steely Dan recordings, and those guys threw that shit down live. You know the bass
Right.
tracks. And on tape.
That's amazing. That's
Right.
amazing. Speaking as a self-taught, guy, that blows my mind that they did
Yeah,
that.
you
But
should use those isolated
musicians look at
tracks.
it differently. We're going to look at it differently. We're going to be like, we used to put houses together. We used wooden pegs. We never used power
Well,
tools.
whatever. I mean, I can't throw stones. I mean, if I was making a living as a musician, like a bona fide creative musician, I mean,
Right.
I would probably have to put shit together like a jigsaw puzzle because
You are a bona fide creative musician.
There it is.
You're adapting other people's songs to your style, and you
He's
do it
fishing
well.
for compliments, for God's sake.
At the
Thank
end
you.
of the day, if Billie Eilish or whoever you're talking about can put together a piece of music that reaches people emotionally, a whole generation, God bless her for doing what
Oh,
she's
yeah.
doing.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
true.
it's still a creative process. It's a different
speaking
thing of
for
being able to
someone.
just take a slug of Jack Daniels, walk up to the mic, and just do it.
Right.
Somehow I can't see Billie Eilish doing that though.
No,
Right,
probably
exactly.
not.
But yet she's a recording artist and she can make it happen, So.
And she owns a plane.
And right,
she
and
owns a
she
plane.
owns a plane. There it is.
But there's not, to me, it's not, like the paradigm more today. If you're not Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift or these guys, the paradigm is working musicians, guys who go out there and they work their asses off, and they sell merchandise and they tour. And that's what the business is for those who are kind of
Oh yeah,
the 1%.
Actually making money from it.
yeah.
Everybody
if
else
it acts
you
like
gotta work like everybody else has to just
You-
fucking
you-
work. Man.
Oh,
It
yeah.
used to be that the record company would sponsor your tour and you'd make some money from it. Now, you basically make all your money from your touring.
Yeah, the tour and the
Nobody
merchandise.
sponsors you. Your audience sponsors you.
And
Yeah.
and the good news is, again, unless you're those people that are at the very, very top of their craft, and by that I only mean the top of their sales craft, not like creatively. There's a lot of people that aren't making a dime that are great,
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're at the very top of that, you don't need a record company, and neither does the guy at the bottom. He doesn't need a record company either. It's just like, go out and do your shit. That's one of the things about Taylor Swift. I just feel like she controls her career, and I like that. I think that's great because the
I
record
do
company,
like that, yeah.
We should all be so lucky.
like, fuck them crying about what they don't get and all this stuff. They were douchebags to artists forever and ever and ever. There were just so few people that benefited from a fucking Capitol Records passed on the Beatles twice Go
Right.
Yeah.
with your fucking business problems. It's
Yeah,
like
and then the artist conflicts, like you guys were talking about with Fleetwood Mac, where those two guys are, everybody's looking daggers at each other. It's like, can you imagine Oasis managing to go through that kind of stuff now? No.
yeah,
You know?
right. But aren't they now? They're touring, or they put a tour together.
Well, they're putting a tour together, but there's already odds going as to whether or not they're going to make it.
Yeah.
There's like bookmakers odds as to how far down they're going to make it.
How many
before somebody
gigs?
beats
Yeah.
somebody's
Right.
face in.
What's the over under on the gigs? Yeah.
Well, I say,
I Not sure.
as
certainly.
they're so quick to use a particular word that has a different weight in the UK than it does here. But hey, to use their own word, I consider both, not both of them. I consider, what's his name, Noel. I consider him a silly little fucking cunt. I just, it's just like, they're
Meant in the British loving way of using the word.
I mean
they're
that in a
both
good
eminently
way.
punchable.
Yeah, in a good way.
They're eminently punchable.
I was in a panel like this earlier this week with a bunch of people who had some chronic illness, and
Like this.
one of the people on the
us.
screen gradually, like, nobody noticed until someone suddenly said, "Have you noticed that so and so has is not like awake?" And the guy was like this. Right, and we know that he's got a chronic illness, right? I'm thinking of this because David is doing something with his hands, so I know that he's
He's not passed out yet. So.
exactly. But we were all going like, does anyone know where he lives? Does anyone know like his last
Right.
name? How are we going to
Blue.
call help? Eventually, we woke him up. By like, there was a name on the screen, so we were
No
like,
way! Didn't we have that on Jam TV at one point? Somebody fell asleep.
probably
I swear
during the
I-
pandemic. Yeah.
I swear to God, during the pandemic, somebody fell asleep,
Really?
and then after it might have been you, Randy.
No, one day.
Somebody fell asleep, and the show ended, and they were like. And after the show, I don't remember who it was, but I have a distinct memory of this. After the show, I was like, "Woo, woo, wake up!" And then finally, they woke up.
I mean, I hate to say this, but it really sounds like something that could have been Billy.
That Billy would have done.
Yeah, no, I think it might have been like.
Well, Billy used to. I mean, you've seen me have a little wine and the smoke every now and then. Billy would get fucked up on this show.
Might have been Billy. Might have been Billy.
Yeah, he was very toasted the few times that I had never seen Billy before until the pandemic, and he came on the show.
I
And
think
then,
it might have been
by the
Billy,
way,
yeah.
on Monday night, I played at the Horseshoe, and
Yeah, I'm so
Playland,
sorry I missed that.
like Rye Playland put together a little commemorative banner of Billy
Right.
that they posted, on the wall behind you. When you play at the Horseshoe, they played on that wall right there
I
behind you.
saw that, yeah.
And it was like, an appreciation of your service and all that stuff. And, I did a song for him, like, for Veterans Day, but Rye Playland put together like a little banner for Billy. It
I
was-
saw that on the online. That's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's almost
Yeah, that is
impossible
nice.
to play at the Horseshoe and not think about Billy. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Last time I played with him, I was backing up him and AJ. It was me and Ray and those
AJ
two
Scout?
dudes.
Right. Absolutely. We all did it. Yeah, Frank, you got any songs for us?
I could try, sure.
Yeah, cool. That'd be good.
Let's see here. Is that too loud? We good?
I can't tell.
yeah, we can't tell. We don't know.
Sounds great.
Ah.
Key of G.
What?
All right, there we go. Should be fine. What could go wrong?
Right,
right.
exactly.
Here's one from the '70s. Another deep cut here. This is one I used to actually ask the radio DJs to play all the time, and they'd never fucking play it, so I had to end up learning the song myself. Tonight I'm gonna break away. Just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by these faded memories. Just when I think I'm over, this broken heart will mend. I hear her name and I have to cry. The teardrops come again. happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Count the stars in a summer sky that fall without a sound, and then pretend that you can't hear these teardrops coming down. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Tonight I'm gonna break away. Just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by the faded memory. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, choosing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Tonight I'm gonna break away. Little Poco.
Excellent. Very
Thank you.
nice.
Frank, if we ever have ourselves in the same room at the same time, if I ever make it on a Tuesday or something, we got to do that song. I
Okay.
love that song. I would love
That's
to
a
sing
great
that
song,
song
yeah.
with you. That is
I
a
love that
great song. And a band that's just, lost in time somewhat, like never given the credit that they deserve.
Yeah,
because
it's true.
really-
Is it Little River Band?
No, it's Poco.
Poco.
Oh, it's Poco. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And at the time, at that stage, I think Timothy Schmidt was still in the band at that stage. Rusty
Oh,
Young,
he was in
obviously.
that before he went into the Beagles. Before he
Beagles.
joined the Beagles.
Well, I mean,
We listen to
it
what
was
you
kind
meant.
of like Buffalo Springfield and then them, and that was all before the Eagles, a long time before the Eagles, and the Flying Burrito Brothers were before the Eagles. Like those three bands were really, and a lot of cross pollination. But
Oh, yeah.
that is a great song. I love that song.
I agree.
Yeah, that whole genre, I love that genre. And you could lay a
Southern
lot of
California.
a lot of the feet at that to Graham Parsons. I mean, he's really one of the foundational guys that really created that genre to a fairly significant extent.
What would you call it? Like Southern California?
Yeah, California
people call it
rock.
country rock.
It's
Kinda.
the proto yacht rock, really, when you think about it. I mean,
The proto yacht rock?
Yeah, I can't tell how I feel about the term yacht rock because honestly,
I know.
I'm not a fan of it myself either, but it fits.
I still don't know what it means.
I still don't know what it means. Thank you.
I mean, I kind of know what it means, but how do you lump like Steely Dan with Pablo Cruz?
But it's like after the fact. It wasn't called that back then, right?
No.
No, God, no.
This is the serious radio thing, right? Like
This is all so confusing. It's so over my
Yeah,
head.
it's confusing. Like
But I
you
mean,
take
you know,
all this
lightweight.
music
the Buffalo
I know it.
Springfield thing, Jimmy Messina, Richie Furay, those guys who then went on to, they went on and Graham, he did the great album with the Byrds, which really, Sweetheart of the Rodeo, which was, what was funny about that album, it's considered like, historically like this thing. I never ever listened to that at the time and thought, oh my God, they're playing like Merle Haggard's "Okay" from Muskogee music. I just listened to it. It was great fucking music,
Right.
Great songs. They did the great, Dylan song, "You Ain't Going Nowhere" and stuff like that. And they had, top Nashville players and all this stuff. It never occurred to me that there was some culture war going on there. And then when they tried to play they tried to play the Opry, the Byrds did, and they got fucking booed, and it all got. But the Rito brothers were fucking great too. That was
Jesus. I saw Jewel at the Opry. I can't believe they got booed.
Wow.
And Jewel got in. It's like,
no,
what?
They got booed at the Opry because, and it was like about hair or something. But
yeah.
When you read
that would make sense. It would have been like back in the Ryman days.
Talking about it today, they talk like it was this cataclysmic shift of something, and I didn't see it like that way at all.
Well, part of that also is just the mythology that builds around that stuff. And it was, I mean, really, when you think about it, a lot of those things that they talk about, those seminal moments, it was really more the actual musicians that were hanging around together, and they would see that stuff, and they would see things that these other people were doing. Like, ooh, fuck, I'm going to steal that. And then it eventually trickled down to what was playing on the radio. But really, I think a lot of that stuff, and part of it was created as almost a mythology, if you will, to help sell the records retroactively. Yeah. There's a lot
at the
that.
time, I guess the thing about Sweetheart of the Rodeo, there was no precedent for that, really. Like they're doing Louvin Brother covers. Like they're doing stuff that's like deep country shit. On this thing, and it's the Byrds. It's Mr. Tambourine Man, and it's like turn, 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 and it's like they're doing this stuff. And kind of when you read stuff about it, it's kind of like, Graham sort of brought it in there. There was a little bit of resistance, but Chris Hillman, the bass player, he was a mandolin player before he was a bass player, and it's like it wasn't completely out of nowhere, but that album was a great album. And I just, to the life of me, I don't ever remember at that moment in time listening to it and thinking like, oh, is it okay for me to like this because that's country music? It's like, there's only two kinds of music: bad music, and that is a completely subjective call.
Absolutely.
Like
100%. I mean, again, a lot of the things that you deal with this stuff. For instance, the term yacht rock, just to pull that back in. Most of that shit is made up by people that are trying to sell something.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yacht rock, when you think about it, it's just somebody that can afford a boat that likes good weed. That's really, so the music that they would listen to,
the music
that's
that
yacht
to.
rock.
Okay,
It doesn't really matter
really
what it
is that how it goes?
I have no fucking idea, but it
That's
sounds
pretty
good.
funny,
Somebody's
though. It's about right.
If it was a time period, it seemed like, because there's a lot of 80s shit that gets tagged with yacht rock. And I was thinking, is it a time period? What?
Well, I don't
maybe
know.
there's maybe it's
Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, Hall and Oates. It's like these are bands that are good fucking bands,
Right. Yeah.
And they all have one thing in common: they can sing and play.
Correct.
Well, there's a certain polish to the production, I think, for a lot of those particular acts that I think possibly lends itself towards that. I mean, especially in the case of Steely Dan. And to a lesser extent, Hall and Oates. I mean, there's definitely a sheen that they put on the production there.
Right.
That
classic rock, kind of classic rock has got a tarnish on it now. It's like you can't just group everything into classic rock forever. You've got to cut it off and separate things out somehow.
Are the Doobie Brothers not classic rock too? Is Steely Dan not classic rock? Like you play
it is now,
or like that. Isn't that classic rock?
I bet you they got a focus group together and they said, all right, we're going to play you some classic rock now and we're going to play you some yacht rock now. They played the same basic music and they're like, oh, I like the yacht rock way better.
But again, a lot of that stuff is broken down to the point of it's being quantified and trying to put into a pigeonhole by people that can't fucking play.
Right.
So all they could do is collate. They can't learn how the shit goes. So they just need to put it in a fucking folder somewhere.
Right.
Think about how many different forms of metal. There's a thing called dwarf metal out there now. People fucking dressed like Lord of the Rings short fucking people and play songs about mining to like, drop D tuning with 7-string guitars. That's a fucking thing. Don't ask
That's what
me
Men
how.
Without Hats did. They did the safety dance with the dwarfs in the video,
And the dance.
Actually, done that song with Holly.
Here you go. Dwarf metal.
No, safety.
Go ahead. That's your homework. Look up dwarf metal on YouTube, and you will be horrified as what you will find. I assure you.
I worked at this. I worked at this agency in during Colangelo, and one of our summer barbecue events, they had. I forget what the name of the band, but it was Dwarf Kiss.
Oh no, that's mini Kiss. That's different.
Mini
That's
Kiss, right?
different.
So they were mini-
No, this what I'm talking about is actual dwarf metal, where they will basically LARP Lord of the Rings and play metal on like 7-string guitars and like drop
Spinal
D
Tap. It's Spinal Tap all over
It's
again.
Spinal Tap with like props from a Tolkien movie. It's
great.
bizarre.
Frank, I just looked it up. The only thing I could find was this.
What's that? Yacht Rock?
Something about short people.
Short
yeah.
people.
That's Yacht Rock, definitely.
Oh my God.
Funny.
It came up. I don't know.
Hey, you know what? That's fine. Well played. Well done, sir.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
Dave,
Do
I
it.
like the camera angle where I can see your face better.
Yeah,
You
you're
got
like
you got to turn the hat around, guy.
I can
Right.
do. I can
Turn the hat around, Dave.
You want that now?
SpaceX cam. Yeah.
We want to see that Dave Robinson hat. Face.
I'll let him work on
Face.
that. Frank, do another song for us, would you?
Sure. Speaking of Dave, I think this is a song he just recently did a cover of on Facebook.
No, no.
Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. I look back, love was like the sun. I don't remember no cold days, darling, I remember the warm ones. Day by day, one step back in time. Woman, you've given me so much. Ease this stubborn old heart of mine. Things get down, things get sad. Cheer up each other, things ain't that bad. If a fool alive, happy man I'd rather be. Woman, I can learn from you. I think you can learn a thing or two from me. I don't know where these people come from. Don't know what they might say. You've been loving me in my corner all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. Things get down, things get sad. Cheer up each other, things ain't that bad. If we're fools alive, oh, a happy fool I'd rather be. Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. Further on down the road, you'll accompany me. Little Taj.
Excellent. Very nice. Everybody's clapping and I can't turn them on fast enough.
I've
had a
that
good
album
beat.
out,
Wow, that was good. That was Tosh?
That was
Yeah,
Taj Mahal, yeah.
man.
Nice.
The name of the album, Music Keeps Me Together.
Terrific.
That's right, man. I
Very
wore
good.
that shit out, Bill.
Yeah, that's great.
Good,
I was
Frank.
lucky enough to see him a couple of years ago, and man, what a show he put on. I mean, he was probably pushing 75 at the time, and just and still looked like he could be a problem. I mean, he's a big boy. He's a big boy, and he was just up there, just like dancing around on stage. It was just unbelievable to watch him do what he was doing. Just a consummate showman. It's so good.
So good. I saw him not that long ago at Brooklyn Bowl. And it might have been 10 years ago, but he was so good, like just charming and wonderful and a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a funny bastard, too. He's hysterical. He did. He sat in with Tedeschi Trucks a while back, and they did leave. They brought him out on stage, and they pulled out Leaving Trunk with him, and just so good. I mean, just to hear him go like toe to toe with Derek on Derek on slide, him on harmonica, just really, really neat to watch. A real treat.
That's really cool. All right, gentlemen, who's playing where? What's going on? Frank, I'm sorry your schedule is slowed down so much in the winter. Like you're.
It's on 2 gigs a week now.
That's right.
Yeah,
only 4 actually.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm doing what I can here. It is what it is. These jokes aren't going to write themselves. I got to pay somebody to write them for me. So. Now, I'll be playing tomorrow over at a little place called Local Kitchen Fairfield from like 6 to 9.
Nice.
And then Sunday I'll be over at the Scenic Castle in Black Rock from 5 o'clock till about 8 o'clock. So a couple of Fairfield County gigs this week coming up. Looking forward to it.
Very nice. Sunday you're at the castle.
Correct.
Nice. Very nice. What about Randy? Are you picking up stuff still? You got gigs happening?
Nothing this weekend, but what the hell do I have? Oh, I'm at Maria V's in Shelton.
Wow, okay.
With Holly and the Toon Squad. And
Right.
then we're going to be at the Black Duck on the 29th. And this just in, big announcement, at least in my little world, a one-night only reunion of the B-side band with the original cast, the original members, at the Horseshoe on a Monday showcase December 2nd. So I'll publish
That's
it.
great.
But yeah, we haven't played together in like 2 or 3 years.
You just hurt me when you said December. I'm like, oh, December?
No shit.
Oh, it's coming. Oh, no.
Well, Thanksgiving
Winter is
is
coming.
how many Thursdays away, too?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm still working on the Relaxing Earth, which you can see at therelaxingearth.com. You can see a sample of it. It's a multimedia show to relax people with music and beautiful visual art.
Nice.
Nature, and that'll actually launch in a local church on December 8th. So, and my strong advice to you is don't ever try to do multimedia. Stay in one medium, music. Just do don't get into this other shit.
I can barely do that. God,
So complicated.
Make it all work. Everything has to work.
I'm in this like common room that's rented, and I'm surrounded by shit on the floor, cables, devices, gadgets, everything. And I've got 3 people going, "What do you want me to do with this? Where's you going to plug that? What are you going to do with it?" And I'm like, "Just stop asking me shit." And then they stopped, and then 5 minutes later, they're all doing it again. So don't do multimedia, but go to the relaxingearth.com. You'll get a nice relaxing moment. There's a video there for 3 minutes that shows you an example.
I got nothing. All my places are going out of business. The place I was playing that used to be McDuff's, it turned into Ollie's. Apparently, they're being sold, and they're going to do something else. So no gigs booked there. Joey's in Portchester went out of business. I was doing gigs there. The golf course doesn't want people playing outside this time of year. So,
what about
I
the
thought
local?
I saw something where Joey's was going to be back in like late November. Actually, I saw something.
I
on
heard
Facebook.
that. Yeah. So I hope that's true. I hope that's going to happen.
What about the local? Anything happening with the 2 local bands that you're in? Oh, sorry.
One band broke up, and the other band can't find any show. It's winter out here. Like it is winter out here. It's going down to 24 tonight. And everybody hibernates, so it's a different music scene. But I'm enjoying my time. I picked up a really cool keyboard that it's a Kawai. Remember the piano company Kawai? And they came up with this super cool idea in the early 2000s where they said, well, we know how to make pianos, so we'll make a keyboard that is a piano with the actual hammers and the actual, like, it's the mechanical innards of a piano, but it controls a digital instrument, and it's amazing. So I've been playing that a lot lately and having fun. But
so it's like a Fender Rhodes, but not.
Yeah, it's like a Fender Rhodes, meaning it weighs like 80 pounds.
I was about to say, yeah. So it comes with its own hand truck or porter.
There you go. You're not taking it to rehearsals, but for gigs, it's fantastic.
As one who has
a very short, stout person named Charlie who will carry it around for you.
Right, exactly. Like the Rhodes pianos are amazing, but they're like 120 pounds. I had the 50. I still have it. The 54 Rhodes, which is the short one, and it was only 100 pounds. It had wheels and. You got to wrestle it down the stairs. But
yeah, I had a 73. I had to carry up like 4 flights of stairs. I was living off Greenwich Avenue in Greenwich.
Oh my God!
Every Thursday night at this, restaurant down there, and I had to carry that and the guitar rig too. I was like sort of doing both of those things.
Yeah, that's a young man's game,
Yeah.
Right. I my friend Fred Clark, he played in a band for a while. And they had a Hammond organ in the band with a Leslie speaker, and it wasn't a B3.
I'm sorry, that's a war crime. It really is.
It's a war crime. And he said one day the keyboard player picked up a Roland or a Korg organ that imitated the Hammond, and he still used the Leslie, and they pushed the Hammond organ off the back of a loading dock and smashed it. They hated it so much. It wasn't like a B3 classic or anything. It was like an M3 or something. But they were like walking that upstairs, flights of stairs. It's no good.
Well, basically, if you got the Leslie, that's a hump in itself. But if you got the Leslie, you can make anything sound like a Hammond.
Oh, yeah, you got it. You got it.
If you have to choose between schlepping a Leslie around or a Hammond around, there is no contest for that.
I bought a pedal, actually Leslie, which is now Hammond and Leslie are both owned by Suzuki now. Right, they bought both companies, and they were rivals. Like Hammond organs and Leslie speakers went together like chocolate and peanut butter, but they did not like each other. And Mr. Hammond did everything he could to get rid of Leslie. He hated Leslie, so Suzuki eventually bought them, and they put out a pedal, an imitation of all the classic Leslies and cabinets and whatever that is kick ass. And I bought that, and I learned very quickly you could put like a Casio toy keyboard through it, and it sounded like a badass B3. It's the Leslie that you love.
I've heard my friend Jimmy Vivino has one of those that he uses for the guitar. And
that's a pedal where you, I think Electro Harmonix makes it. You play the notes on the guitar, it picks out the notes and plays an organ.
Yeah,
Rory. No, he's talking about actually just running it through a Leslie cabinet, like Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do.
Like a guitar through a Leslie.
Oh, a Leslie emulator for a guitar. Yeah, that sounds
Rory Gordon in Coked Up does that when they do the song "Come Dancing" by the Kinks.
Yeah.
Sounds just like that organ.
Yeah, it's really cool. I that's exactly where I saw it, where Roy was playing it, and that's pretty amazing. That puts the keyboard players out of business. It's an amazing piece of gear.
Don't ever give me shit about bass strings again, okay?
There you go.
I just
all right, gentlemen.
Strings.
Who's got stories to tell? Because I'm going to say goodbye otherwise.
Goodbye.
Story.
Randy's always like, no, wait.
Story.
There I was in the Congo.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, that's Jam TV. I'm off next week. We are not doing it next week. I'm going to be out of town. But happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We'll do it Thanksgiving week if you feel like it. And that's it. Now something completely different. See you guys later.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
That was quite a show.
We're out of drop now.
Yeah, taking a stand.
Oh, wow.
We'll see.
That was something.